On this episode, we discuss our recent trip to the Disney 100 exhibit here in KC and discuss some upcoming changes to our podcast. This is episode 80 of Salute to the Ears. Welcome back to another episode of Salute to the Ears. It's been a bit.
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute. But we're going to kind of go over and kind of revamp some things a little bit.
Trying, anyway.
Trying, which will hopefully get us more consistent.
Yeah, we've had a lot of stuff happening in the last few months.
We have. And it was a good time to take a break to kind of revisit this idea and how we wanted to do this.
If you're new around here, I'm Erica.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we love everything Disney. And we have gotten really into everything that has to do with parks and just anything.
Right. I think our focus tends to be more on the parks. Like we'll talk about movies some and some big Disney news stuff that comes out. But I think one of the things that got us to doing this podcast to begin with were just the conversations we were having at our dinner table.
Yeah, it really was. We like the conversations that come up around what Disney means to us and the magic and the way that it inspires both people and how it's magic.
Right. So I think going forward, we're mostly going to be conversational of topics that we would talk about like at our dinner table with our kids and have talked about with our kids. When we have things to review, we'll review them. Mm-hmm. Just we don't get to go to the park nearly enough for this to be a
park only
or a review only podcast. It's really hard to do that when you might only get to go once, twice a year.
Now we do get to talk about something really cool today though.
We do.
That is still Disney related.
It is.
It's reviewable.
It is reviewable.
And it's local.
Yes.
So here in Kansas City right now at Union Station in downtown Kansas City, we have the Disney 100 exhibit or exhibition. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible.
It is. It's incredible may not even be a big enough word.
I mean, there were definitely some sections of it that I wish maybe had expanded just a little bit more. Right. But part of that is space.
Part of that was space. This is the smallest space that it's been in so far. This is in Union Station, our train station here in Kansas City, and really in the basement of the train station. It's a really cool space, and we've seen other exhibits down there before.
We've seen one on Leonardo da Vinci. We've seen one on Auschwitz, and the Holocaust. We've seen a couple other ones, but it's been a bit. I know I've had friends that have loved the Spider-Man one, and there was a dinosaur one at one point that was huge. There's exhibits there all the time. I mean, it's just when this one leaves, there will be another.
There will.
Big exhibit, but
I think so far this one's been in Philly and Chicago, and this was really the opening weekend for it here in Kansas City. And the line when we came in, it felt like being in a Disney park. We had our virtual queue, and we were still waiting in line.
Yeah, we still waited about 30 minutes to get in from our time.
But it was nice, even when we were in line, there was stuff to see. Mm-hmm. There were different pieces whenever we first got in to look at from Walt's early time in Kansas City.
Yeah. And
then as you got down closer, I mean, there was a big Goofy and a photo op spot and stuff on the floor and sparkles or stars going around everywhere.
There was a lot of that,
pixie dust.
Pixie dust everywhere.
Yeah.
In light form.
And then but I think they did a really good job of keeping the story moving.
Yeah, so it's divided up into sections, and you watch this little video to begin with and kind of explains the way the exhibition is. And they broke it up into the early years and the development of Mickey and Minnie and Walt's early life. And then you get into the different parts of the storytelling aspect.
Right.
Storytelling and the animation and music and sound and innovations and nature, and you see it brings in some of that like Animal Kingdom, National Geographic like type information, and then the stuff that's like coming up and the moving forward. There's stuff about the parks, there's stuff about animation. I mean, it was divided up really well.
It was. And each section has its own poster. Just like you see posters whenever you go to the park, you walk under the train station at Magic Kingdom, and you look over on the side and you see posters for Happily Ever After or Tron or whatever the new ride is. And you'll see those. They had the same thing there at the exhibit, like really dividing the sections, but really kind of kept it moving well anyway. Yes, I thought.
Well, the nice thing I liked about those is like we ended up purchasing one of the posters at the end in the gift shop. It was nice that you could get all of them if you wanted.
Oh yeah.
But the posters inside were animated, so it was like a little video clip almost.
Right.
You just repeat like a GIF or GIF, like of
a
little animation repeating with it. So that was really nice that it wasn't just something static. It felt a little more interactive. And not only did we keep stopping and like taking a quick video clip of it, but lots of other people were as well. One thing we said, like, we were like, oh my gosh, these are our people. They're here. They really do exist here. I saw so many loungeflies and people wearing their ears and people wearing, oh my gosh, why can't I think of the word? What are the sweatshirts?
Oh, spirit jerseys.
Spirit jerseys, and the like just Disney stuff, Disney t-shirts, and just everybody was like decked out in their best Disney gear and their best Mickey gear and stuff. And I actually was really disappointed in myself. I meant to wear a pair of my ears and I totally forgot, walked out of the house without them.
I thought about it like the day before.
Yeah.
But then I forgot about it, and we got there and I saw people wearing their ears and I was like, oh. Yeah, probably should have done that. But
yeah. But it was really good. And one, if you are anywhere local to Kansas City, if you're within a couple of hours of here, 100% make the trip. It's $25 for adults if you're not a Union Station member. It's like $18.50 if you are a member. And then it's a little bit cheaper for but definitely worth that cost to go through.
Absolutely.
We will be going back because there are definitely parts of the exhibit that we didn't fully explore.
Right.
I mean, one, it was very crowded because it was opening weekend. And two, we were trying to like get through all of it, as best we could without stopping. We ended up taking my dad, which was really cool. He got to see some artifacts and stuff from movies and rides that he loves.
Right.
So that was really fun.
Like stuff from he loves the Peter Pan ride.
Yeah.
And got to sit in one of the ride cars.
For teacups. He couldn't sit in that
one.
Oh,
that's right. You can't sit in that one.
But he got to take his picture with it. But you got to see it up close and and it had information about it and talked about like the design for him.
Right. And there was plenty of stuff on Mary Poppins, which he really likes.
Which was incredibly, it just seems so fitting. I couldn't believe, if you're watching, I mean, now you're watching this, like it's already broken from Saturday, that the legendary songwriter and musician Richard Sherman has passed away. The remaining Sherman brother,
right,
from that amazing duo who wrote
so many songs.
I mean, you want to talk about a Disney song from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, like they have their hand stamp on much.
They were Walt's favorite.
Yeah.
And I mean, just throughout the exhibit, there was lyrics and like music from theirs in there. It was kind of
like it didn't hit me until like we found out while we were there that he passed, but it didn't hit me until later of how important, like important's the wrong word, like how impactful. Yeah, just how impactful that was to learn that information, like, and be around these items that they would have had hand in, and these, ideas and just the magic of Disney that they helped produce.
Right.
And we were getting to experience in that time, and then finding out that he had passed.
Yeah. No, because at this exhibit we had sheet music, we had pieces of art from movies,
hand-drawn stuff,
original stuff. We had costumes. There was stuff that was interactive, which was fun.
Cool. There was like the storybooks from Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. And Sleeping Beauty one, they had almost like a cardstock version of it out. And as you flipped the pages, you could see it on the screen in front of you, and it would flip the page, and it was like interactive on the screen.
Yeah, and you had like the Rocket Raccoon thing where you stand on the spot and it interacts with your face. Like you get to do the facial expressions for Rocket, which was kind of fun.
Yeah. He worked for you. He didn't work for me.
Yeah, I think there was too many people.
People right there. Yeah.
Yep. I may have been standing too close. Like, what are you doing? Like, was there anything in particular that you can think of, like, wow, like that really stood out for you? Like one certain piece?
I mean, I loved seeing the things that were like the early years. Like I loved seeing the artwork. I loved seeing the storyboarding and seeing how there was one interactive spot where you could see the storyboard images and like the sketches from the storyboard. And then they had the movie playing next to it. It was from Dumbo.
Right.
And so you had these storyboard sketches from Dumbo and how those sketches ended up matching up with and lining up with this section of the movie that they were showing. So it's just a small part of the storyboarding that they were showing you, but like how that matters in the storyboarding, how the way that they lay it out on there impacts the final production. And, you know, I always think of storyboarding like, oh, it's just like an idea. It's just a sketch. It's just like but how much that actually impacts what the final is going to be.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I think some of the like detailed sketches, like I think there was one that was maybe from Snow White, and I think there was another one that was Maleficent.
You're not talking
that were
about
just so
like, you know,
detailed.
Like, I get it.
And
they were
there's
like
so
much
detailed.
of that. They were, you know, it would be hard to preserve it well without showing your reproductions, but you still get to
color
see
and ink
so
and,
much
like,
of the like even in the
you know,
reproduction
kind of, like,
seeing
paint.
I mean,
You
these
know,
are just
there was,
literally
you can tell there
sketches
was a
of them.
line
There were a
there.
lot of reproduction sketches
And it had been,
too.
Yeah, there were.
After it had been, you know, done over darker with a broader stroke. Like, it was just interesting to see the way that changed through the years.
Yeah. I loved it was the first room we went into. It wouldn't have been the first room. It was early on, but there was these like pillars in the middle, and there was these storybooks in the middle. In these pillars, they kept showing different
They were like
movies.
gemstones.
And I remember sitting there looking. I think I was taking a picture of the Snow White book. And I turned around and look, and there's all this Big Hero 6 stuff that's popping up there. And I was like, oh, like
I think we could have stood there and just watched that loop of the stuff that plays on there over and over again, because there were just so many different, like Tangled, Big Hero 6, I think Sleeping Beauty might have been on there.
And then you can go up to them and
that was seeing the different costuming and seeing the different pieces that were, you know, I know this was a long time ago, but like costuming up close and being able to actually see the detail in those pieces and go, it's much simpler. Like it's done so well, but it's simple done.
There's space
so
in between
well.
each one,
like,
and you can go up to it, and all these different books
something that
are
is like
sitting in the middle,
overly
including
complex
like
and like
up on top is,
you know,
Big
it's,
Hero
for the
6.
most part, it's complicated, but
and
it's not like
inside
impossible.
of the pillars are
Whereas like when you
showing
see it on the screen,
a different image than what's on the outside, which I thought was
there's some of those costumes, they almost look impossible.
And then you can turn around
How did you
and
make all of those pieces fit together and work together?
Barbossa's
and all of those items show up and be able to be visible and be, you know, the way that they light up and the way that they, you know, I've studied fashion and
So
design,
seeing
and
those details up close,
I have an understanding of how that works
together
and how pieces like that can be created and made.
Barbossa's was pretty detailed. There was a lot of layers to that one. But then there were other ones. There was like, you can see the Black Panther. Like, there's not a lot of detail to that one. Like,
I mean, there is though in the texture of the fabric.
Yeah, I guess in texture,
that's all texture based, and that is all. One thing that I really noticed about that is it makes me go, okay, if he wore that, if that's one from there and he wore that, how skinny he actually ended up
Right.
being towards the end.
Yeah.
Because that costume was not
No.
nearly as big as what.
Yeah. No, and that was one of the things I said when we were there is looking at all these costumes, you realize like most of those costumes, people aren't very big.
Mm-mm.
And I think whenever we see them up on the screen, like they seem bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
And I was pretty shocked. Like they were really tiny.
Yeah.
Like especially some of the dresses. Like Amy Adams is a lot smaller than I thought she was.
I knew she was tiny, but
Yeah.
like that one I anticipated. But yeah, I was expecting the Black Panther one to feel bigger
right.
than what it was. Like,
right.
and it kind of broke my heart a little bit just because it's the knowing,
I like the partner statue.
you know,
So
everything that he was. It's essentially life battling, and so it's like, and
I'm fully
so to get to
expecting
stand
Brooklyn
there,
to see that one and start crying.
Yeah. Oh, probably.
You can't really get your
there are
picture
several
taken
points
with the
within it that I think will really be touched. I mean, because I teared up a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that teared up for me was seeing that was one that definitely made me.
Absolutely did. Doesn't help you have like Walt quotes like everywhere. So
there's a couple different movie clips too where you hear him talking and you see him talking about stuff.
So this was a good opportunity
explaining
to actually
something
get your picture. That was one of the things I liked was there were different clips of things, but you had to go and pick up to your ear.
Yeah.
So you could hear it. So all those sounds weren't just like overtaking everything.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice. That way you could hear.
There was just enough of me though that wanted to be like, who else has touched this?
Yeah. Get it.
Like how are we?
Yeah.
How many ear infections are we gonna have after weeks?
Right.
But hopefully they're going through and cleaning those every night. But the overall aspect of it was not only were there things that you could interact with and be able to actually like touch and see and like experience, there were it's a lot of information.
It is.
It's a lot of information. It's a lot of it's definitely not little kid friendly.
No, it would be
like older kids. Like I would say your 10 and up crowd. Yes.
Right. I think if you're taking littles, you have to be prepared to move faster than what the crowd's going.
Yeah. You're not going to get to see everything.
There's going to be things that your littles are going to love, like just different figures from pictures. And I'm thinking of who is it that was sleeping? Dopey, and getting it like.
They've got like a bench you can almost like where you can lay down and have your picture like sleeping with Dope like.
But yeah, if you're wanting to really go through and enjoy it, like take in each piece, like having littles might be hard.
Yeah. That was one of the things I said to my sister was like, don't like Avery would probably really enjoy it because she'll go through and read and she loves to learn about stuff that's very informational. But it's a lot of information, of reading. It's a lot of having to like stop and interact with something, but also knowing that there's like 5 groups of people behind you wanting to do the same thing. So you're I'd love to go here in a couple of weeks when the early crowd, when all the diehard Disney fans have gotten in and it's died down a little bit, like maybe I might try to go like in the middle of the week, like take Brooklyn like middle of the day during the week and try to be able to spend some more time looking at some of the things that we didn't really get to.
Right.
There were definitely parts that we kind of glossed over.
Somewhat, yeah. There were sometimes we were moving slow enough to where it was like, let's go. Like, but I think that was just also from it being opening weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was the second day had been open.
So
we did not they had early VIP access and like VIP tickets that you could get, and they had like a big, media opening and all of that. We did not participate in that because our schedule was too chaotic to be able to manage that. So this worked out great though, and is definitely something with Walt's history here in Kansas City. And it's one that we as Kansas Cityans have not done a great job of preserving up until the last, like we're trying
right
now, but it's kind of a lost thing that happened in Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
where the arts, where his studio and stuff was here is falling apart,
Right.
and
They're trying.
They're trying, and they're trying to get it revamped. But like, it's always kind of broken my heart that I'm like, I know he wasn't here for like a super long period of time, but it started here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No, but it started here, and then he took it to
It's like, it's kind of fun that it's there, because if he were to take the train from Kansas City to California, he would have left from Union Station.
Right.
And that's just such a cool piece of history. And we've talked about this before on here. Like, we had our wedding reception at Union Station.
Right.
And so in a restaurant there, it's now called Harvey's, used to be the ticket booth area at Union Station. And there's just so much in that building. World War I Monument and Museum is right across the street. It's just such a historic space. And Walt himself spaces and things that Walt he was here and experienced. And so it just feels, for those of us who love Disney as much as we do and have so much respect for his legacy and impact he's had, just culturally worldwide, that, and how much that's impacted our family and millions of families around the world. The fact that some of these things are kind of felt like coming home. Like, I don't know. It was very cool.
And with Marceline, Missouri's not so. I think their choices were probably either here or St. Louis. And since it's already been in Chicago and Kansas City has a connection to Walt, Kansas City probably makes sense. I don't know where it's going to after. I don't know if it's going to stay Midwest or if it's going to start pushing west or west. Like you said in the beginning, if you're within a couple hours of here, like, come. Like, if you enjoy Disney at all, like, come. Like I said, there's stuff from the parks and there's stuff from movies and just Disney history, and it's all there.
If you love the music of it, there's stuff about all the music and sound. If you love the tech about it, there's stuff about the tech. There's stuff about the animation side of things, and like the storytelling and just the history of Mickey and Minnie. And
which I will say, and I've said this before, and seeing it again at this exhibit, early costume Mickey at the parks was great nightmare stuff. Like, how the parks took off with Mickey, I do not understand, because good night. He would scare me.
I just keep hoping that maybe in person it wasn't as bad as what the images look like.
Do you think there was somebody underneath that thing that was trying to talk like Mickey?
Oh God, I hope not. I hope that was the start of silent characters.
I hope so, especially because I've seen like the video where he's like chasing this kid around, like, give me a hug, and the kid's like running away from him. Like, that was like early Disneyland.
No, thank you.
If there's somebody in there, like,
no, thank you. No, thank you.
Like, how did this succeed?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that we've been on such a hiatus and out of commission when it comes to pretty much anything that's happening with Disney right now is because we had a crazy spring with a lot of stuff happening with our kids, and first season for Brooklyn, first tennis season for Jackson, and last his graduation, a big change in his plans for college, and switching, and it's been kind of a roller coaster of all the things, but we are so incredibly excited and so happy that we've gotten to share and have these experiences with them, because it's made, we had this moment a couple weeks ago, where the kids are all in the car, and we had Jackson and Brooklyn and Jackson's girlfriend, and they're telling her about Disney.
Right. Because she has never been.
And like explaining things to her, and the excitement was like palpable. Like you're driving, you start saying something, and I'm like, stop it. Don't ruin it. You're gonna scare it away. Stop.
It's like they were tripping over their feet, like trying to get the next thing out.
Yeah.
So like, oh, and you got to try this if you go. Like, oh, and you got
no,
this.
but then we could stay here, and then we could do this, and they're like planning trips and like figuring out like all the things that we're gonna do and what she like and why we need to do this. And
15-minute drive, they spent thousands of dollars and planned a vacation.
They planned more than one vacation.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
And but it was just like we kind of looked at each other like, oh, like just when we were worried that maybe they didn't care.
Yeah.
As much as we thought.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't impact them the way that we thought it did. We were like, nope.
Especially him.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. So that was nice. That was a good moment. And it was good to take, like with the time off, getting to experience some of these things, some of these. But now we're back.
Now we're back. Now we're back. Now we're back, and we're gonna try this and sharing both a visual podcast and the audio podcast. Trying to get back into more content. And X. I'm trying to get you to use Threads as well.
Yeah,
I like Threads.
I'm gonna work.
Disney,
I'm gonna work on it.
Disney people on Threads are good people.
Okay.
So
I'm working on it, but these will hopefully, minus these review ones, shorter.
Yeah.
Which would then also allow us to be more consistent. So, if you're listening to this, you're probably already following us on Twitter and Instagram, and both of those salute to the ears.
So is Threads.
So is Threads. See, you're on
Threads.
it.
Threads is the same as Instagram. It's tied to so.
Right. If you would share it, help us grow this thing. And with that, I'm going to say, go out and find your joy.
And have a magical week.